Hi, Daania. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you being here. Do you want to just give a quick introduction of yourself as well as the topic we'll be talking about today?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Sam. My name is Daania. I'm a rising senior at Stanford. I'm majoring in political science and minoring in creative writing. And I don't know the exact trajectory of what we're going to talk about, but it's going to center around how my definition of success changed from high school to college, and just how you should go out of your comfort zone and explore new things to have a complete college experience in my opinion.
Awesome. Let's get into it. So maybe a good place to start then is paint us a bit of a picture of how you were in high school, like what you were doing, both in school, out of school, just kind of set up the scene for what we'll contrast with. But yeah, go ahead. What was high school Dania like in all her glory?
Okay, high school Danya was she was a little ball. She was a little worry ball. She was really super like ambitious. Was taking like 5 APs, was speech and debate, tennis, always grinding. My like focus was I wanted to get into a good school. I knew I was not the like smartest person in my grade, like grades wise and just like in general, I was definitely not. But I just um I really wanted to kind of do well in some way and make people know that. Um I cared a lot about politics and social justice. Not that I don't now, but I made it like a thing in high school. I recently wrote a creative writing piece where I was talking about how like I would walk around the halls and just be like, the European exploitation of my culture was bad. And I would just be like in AP chemistry and I'd be like, European colonization is bad. And my teacher was like, this is AP Chem, like this is not, the cells are not ruining your life. And I was like, still. But the point is, I was just very passionate, and that's why I won the most scary senior award for speech and debate, because I think I scared them with that. Um, yeah, so to sum it up, I was just very ambitious. I was really passionate about like decolonization. And I wanted people to know that passion for almost selfish reasons, I think, so that like I could be the one who's gonna change the world through
Hmm.
politics. Yeah, that was me.
Interesting. Can you talk a bit more about that last point about like you thought it was a bit selfish about like how you were trying to get everyone to know like how passionate you
Mhm.
were about decolonization? Like why would you use the word selfish there?
Yeah, I feel like, and I think people who have a goal of getting into a top school might have experienced this, but you kind of like want to curate yourself. And that means you know you want to have some, not like niche, but you want to have a story about yourself. And so the story um that was an honest story, which was a story of how I was passionate about decolonizing education and decolonizing politics and how I'd experienced like racism in my own life. That was a true story. But I became aware of that story like sophomore year of high school. And I was like, huh, this sucks, but I can like use this. Uh, I can use this to curate myself more. And so I think the reason I called it selfish was because in a, it wasn't like a completely, there was some intent of college with the stuff I was doing. And so my passion, when I look back on it, almost felt a little bit uh not genuine, because I was like, I do really care about this, but also like this is gonna look great on my college essay or my college application. And so that was an honest thought that I had. Yeah.
Oh, that's like a very refreshing take. Like I've heard people talk about that with like maybe like starting a nonprofit or like obviously getting like XYZ leadership position, but not so much about like an issue that like I know you like genuinely care about because like I know you. Like I feel like for me, when I started like or helped start like the Asian affinity space at my high school, like I didn't think too much about college, but I probably ended up putting it on the resume. So that's probably like unintentional. But that's That's an interesting way to put it. And maybe like since this is probably going to be audio, do you want to like explain a bit more like what your personal identity is so like people have a
Mhm. Oh
understanding?
yeah, I'm not a white man.
I
I
can still couldn't tell at this point.
true. Sam made AI on me. Um, I am from the US. I was born in the US. My parents are from Pakistan. They're born in Lahore, and Karachi. I don't know. Or I don't know. They're born somewhere in Pakistan. Yeah, so I'm brown. And I'm the first one in my family to go to school in the US. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So let's get into college then. So, you get into this great college and you're having this transition. Feel free to start at any point in terms of like getting the
Mhm.
acceptance, but to moving in, like wherever you want to, wherever the college journey starts for you, feel
Yeah.
free to go there.
So there's so many ways that you could talk about this, but I think like I got in, I was really excited. And when I first got there, when I first got to Stanford, I was like, friends. I was like, I need friends. And so I kind of dropped everything and I was just like really focused on socializing, which I don't regret. I regret things I did, I guess. Well, not regret in the sense like I wouldn't want to go and relive that moment in my life. But I think it was great for that time in my life. But yeah, I socialized a lot and I was really focused on like who I was. It's like the academic side of me was kind of like pushed aside because I'd done so much in high school that I was like, okay, I need to like meet people here. And then COVID hit my freshman spring and I came home. And then I took a gap year because I didn't want to do online school. And I think during my gap year is when I was like, okay, I now don't have school. What, like, who am I? Like, who am I without like getting A's and like being the academic girl and like starting the clubs and like, because that was how I defined myself for a good amount of time. And it was hard because I was kind of like, oh my God, I am just good at school without any structure in my life. I just like waste away and like eat bananas. And I was like, damn, like, what do I do? So that whole transition was a pretty like time of reflection and yeah, it was like not a mentally great time because I was just feeling really lost. And looking back on it now, I kind of wish I'd embraced that feeling more and let myself feel it. I think a lot of people, especially at top schools, especially from Asian backgrounds, need to feel like they're moving forward and progressing. And if you're not doing that, you're like, I'm doing it wrong. But it's like, bro, that's not how life works. It's like not a linear line. And progression happens in a lot of ways. And so I progressed a lot mentally during the pandemic. Well, I progressed in the sense the pandemic did some fuck things to everyone and to myself too mentally. But I had a lot of reflective time, which I was grateful for. And then I came back to Stanford. Also, am I rambling?
Go ahead.
Okay. I came back to Stanford and still feeling very, very lost. Also, I was going through friendship problems and like relationship problems, as one does when they're 19, 20. Yeah, that was a very real part of my life. I'm someone who cares a lot about the people who's around, I am someone who cares a lot about the people who are around her. Yes. And so I'm very affected by those things, which is something I'm now pretty proud of. So, anyways, I was just like, I was feeling really confused. I was like, I'm not the like deep colonial girl anymore at Stanford. I'm not the like political girl because when you go to a school like this, you are in a room with like 100 people who are 10 times smarter than you and who honestly care more about these things than you do. Like these kids are doing 5 research assistantships on like cybersecurity and like uh how to solve democracy and like global poverty at the same time and like have personal relationships with like every professor and like person on that at that school and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Like, I can't invest myself in this as much. And so I was struggling because I liked poli-sci a lot as a major, but it wasn't something that I could see myself doing what other kids were doing with it, like just diving headfirst into like Hoover Institute and like all this stuff. And I was like, that doesn't feel real to me. And I felt really bad about it. I was like, this should feel real to me. Like, as someone who got into school, why am I not compelled to become president of the United States? And then I took TAPS 103, which is beginning improvisation. And I'm not going to be some like heebie-jeebie, like that class changed my life person, but literally looking back on it, it kind of did because my mom's knocking on the door. Thank you. Okay, my mom dropped off tampons. Anyways, so I took that class and I was like, wow, this class was all about failure. It was all about being weird. It didn't matter if you were a top CS student who knew Elon Musk and had like 500K in a trust fund. You had to just drop down and become an ant on the ground and just be an ant. And it was just a class that really embraced being weird, and being just it's improv. Anyways, I can talk about that for a very long time, but I won't. The point is, I took that class and I was like, wow, this is great. I really like improv. I've never done this before in my life, but I really like it. And that class inspired me to kind of start writing more and exploring more creative things. And so I declared a creative writing minor. And I also, during the pandemic, I learned how to play guitar. And I got really into managing music artists. That was something that I never thought I would do, but I was like, oh, this is cool. And so I joined the Stanford Concert Network on a whim. I went on to some meetings. And the point of all this is like, I had never done improv before. I had never had a plan of doing a career in like entertainment or music. I just was like, oh, I'd never explored this stuff, but I kind of like it. And so I tried to do it more. And then fast forward to like now, I guess, and I'm in the improv group on campus and I love it. It is so fun, and it's been a while since I've had a hobby that I like actually loved just that much. And I'm a member of the Stanford Concert Network, and I get to produce shows at Stanford, and I get to book artists, and I get to be in that sphere. And all of this is to say that my major is still poli-sci, but I think that what I realized throughout the years was like letting myself let go of the girl in high school who needed to become some like high profile government officer and like decolonize the entire world was like a really important step to progressing and being, quote, successful for me, because I got in touch with my creative side that I, now looking back on it, have had for a very long time. Since I was like little, since I was in high school, I wrote on my Stanford application when I was applying, they asked, what is one thing that you would do if you had an hour more in the day is one of the questions that they ask. I don't know if they still do. And I answered saying that I would do theater. Now I'm like, damn, that's true, I would. And then I did. And I think it's just crazy because I think that high school me would have never expected me to be doing these things in college. But I am. And I think that's amazing. Yeah.
It is, yeah. So a lot to unpack there. A few follow-up questions. First, do your parents have any thoughts on like you pursuing the creative side? Because I could imagine maybe similar kids would have concerns of like what their parents are thinking they're doing that isn't the traditional route. So that's the first question. And the second one would be like, how has this college experience changed like what you might want to do post grad now, given like all these new experiences you have been having? So parent question and then career question.
Yeah. So the parent question is, yeah, they are your brown immigrant parents, and they want me to have a very stable job and stable finances, which is a fair thing for them to want, considering what they've given me, the life that they've given me. So I think it is a hard conversation to always have to explain to them my creative pursuits, because it's not like it is not a drop everything and follow that dream kind of situation, which I think I've learned to understand, because I think that it makes sense to kind of not have a backup, but not put all your eggs in one basket, which I think is what I have kind of come to compromise, and why I'm also still, pretty confident in my poli-sci interest and ability, because, yeah. So I think that there's no easy solution to that problem, and I think I haven't found this solution yet, but so far it's just kind of been a like, don't worry, mom, I'm doing poli-sci. I'm not only doing theater, but I do want to do theater. And then eventually, like, you get in a small fight and then you just kind of end the convo. And I think it will just take time until, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I get that. And then with the career, that I guess that ties into it a bit, but how do you see, it's hard to see first of all, but like how do you see like these combining interests playing out, like with what your career would be?
Yeah. I think I'm basically as confused as I was like 3 years ago. I just think I'm a little bit more confident in myself and my abilities. But there's three things that I think can happen. My three main interests in life are, I was actually like talking to myself about this before I went to sleep. I don't know why I was doing that, but I was. My three main interests are nuclear weapons, improv and comedy, and music management and A&R. None of those have anything to do with each other, although they kind of might, because I think a political satire about nuclear weapons would be very terrifyingly funny. That's a great idea I just had. Wait. Sorry. Anyways, I'm going to go write that. Okay, the point is, I think like I'm giving myself the chance to explore my creative sides with my career. I'm planning on hopefully doing writing wherever I go and trying to find improv wherever I go. I think realistically I'll end up using my poli-sci degree to do some kind of business or like consulting stuff. And then my music management interest is something that we'll see. There's no clear path for that, and I do want to pursue it. I think either of those, my three interests, I would be happy doing. I think all my creative interests, as long as they're in my life, I would be satisfied. So that is that's how I'm viewing my career right now, is kind of just step by step, and whatever opportunities come my way. I think I'll more actively seek out creative opportunities, but opportunities in the poli-sci and like business sector tend to be easier to come across, simply because of the nature of my school. Like my current summer research work, I really like the topic. It's not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life per se, but I am deeply interested in those spheres of work. And yeah, so.
Yeah, no, I totally get and resonate with a lot of what you're saying, so that all makes a lot of sense. And then just as like a last question, then any advice or thoughts for either like students about to enter their first year of college, or even students who like during college are feeling like they're in a transition phase, either with what they want to do career wise or just like with what they want to do on campus? But yeah, first, like any thoughts for people entering college, but then also thoughts for people like in the middle of it, in the thick of it?
Yeah, I guess if you're entering college, my biggest pieces of advice would be find people. I think it's so important to make friends and to put that above school for a little bit at least. I think it's like a rare time in your life where you'll be surrounded by people your age. And I don't know, I think getting through college is hard if you don't have support system. And so I definitely think find people, try out. And if people don't click immediately, because they won't, just remember who does and stay with them. And, just find people and hang out with them as much as you can, because that is what makes the experience special. You can, I think this has been said before, but like, if there's one thing that the pandemic taught us too, and the reason I took a gap year is like, university, if it was about the classes only and the professors lecturing, we would just be doing it online, but it's not. It's about being on campus with people and your peers. Second piece of advice I would give is don't be rigid. Don't make a 5-year plan and stick to it. If I had done that, I would be applying to law school for sure. And I would be I'd be quite unhappy. So I think, have a plan if you want it of some sort, so you can like graduate, but let yourself find new things that you weren't good at in high school and try them out, and let yourself don't stick to the idea of who you were in high school or who you are in high school. Like you can do things that, if you've never picked up a paintbrush before, take an art class and you might love it. And that sounds cheesy, but like, and I never thought that would happen to me, but honestly, like, I think you can change so much, and you can find stuff that will actually make you passionate and happy. And you don't have to let go of your high school interests. I still have them, but you can have both. You can have many. Yeah, those are my main. Oh, and for the people in the middle, I think one thing that we forget, and then I have to keep reminding myself too, is like, we're so young. We are so, and life is so long. Knock, I hope, pray. And so like, just because I started doing improv like sophomore year, and I joined the group like this year. So like the same advice goes for whatever age you are. Like, you don't have to limit yourself to like who you were, like what you're good at. Like, just try new things. Even if you're a senior in college, it's like not too late to just decide to be a filmmaker. I don't know. I think, and a lot of people I've met at Stanford too, like they have CS degrees and they're graduating with CS degrees, and then they're going to go pursue like pottery. And they have engineering degrees, and they're going to go do filmmaking, and they've never made a film before. So like, the point is, so much time. You have so much time, and you can try new things, and you don't have to figure it all out in the span of 4 years. You don't have to be some successful whole person with a well-defined career, because guess what? That is boring. That's boring. That's not life. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that anyone listening to those pieces of advice would definitely understand them, and hopefully it helps in a small way. So thanks, Daania, for being on the podcast. Again, really appreciate your time. And yeah, I'm really excited to put this episode out.
Yes. Thank you for having me. It's so fun.